Are the voices equal?
Mm-hmm.
From my experience, from
Yes.
where I have seen it, I feel like this is called a bandwagon for one way or another, for the primary reason that it
Yes.
has given entitlement.
Mm-hmm. A sense
So-
of entitlement.
Exactly.
I'm entitled to this. You
So-
should do this to me. You should do that to me. Mhm.
Exactly. So people come out and feel entitled to what they call equality, but it's a space of self-recognition.
They feel entitled to what they call equality, but it is a space
Of
of
self-recognition.
self-recognition.
Exactly. So many people talk about gender equality, and in the reality, when you talk about equality,
Yes.
what runs in the mind of many from the narrative gender? Majority
Yes.
are thinking about the woman.
Absolutely. The
There.
word gender no longer means men and
Exactly.
women.
So then when we say equal rights
Mhm.
for men and women,
Mhm.
what many are hearing is rights for women. So then we operate in a space from where I come from. The woman starts feeling entitled to certain benefits
Yes.
in the guise of equality.
Yes.
And then the whole conversation for me still comes back to, we talk about equality.
Mhm.
Let's take it to the marketplace, to the workplace.
To the workplace.
We can say equal rights for women and men in the workplace. But when we come and talk about child care,
Yes.
maternity rights are given differently to paternity rights.
But we are still talking
We're
of
still talking
equality,
equality.
gender equality.
Exactly.
But the man is given 3 days, 7 days.
Exactly. And then the
lady is
woman has
given
months.
3 months. They are even talking about 6 months. And still we are talking of equality.
We are talking of equality. So then the conversation comes back to whose role is childcare.
Mhm.
If you're giving the man less than a week to go be present
Yes.
while a new child has arrived, and you're giving the woman months,
Yeah.
the conversation on the table should be whose right
Mhm.
is it to take care of the children.
Yeah.
So when we hear the women making noise, the men are not being present,
Mhm.
where did the narrative start from?
Mhm.
So
And how can they be present when in the workplace they are not allowed to be
Exactly.
away and be present at home?
So it's a deeper conversation that we need to look into, that when we are talking about equality, we may not be able to change the metrics of things because we find the systems in place.
Yes.
But when we have retrospective conversations,
Mhm.
is it still equality? Or we are talking about empowering the woman to be something else?
Is it still equality, or we are empowering the woman to be something else? Could it be that we are trying to promote inclusion by practicing exclusion? Could it be that we are trying to promote equality by practicing inequality? You are welcome to episode 132 of the Inspired Family Leader Program with Samuel A. Bakutana, your host, a certified executive coach, an award-winning leadership consultant, global speaker, facilitator, and author. The CEO of Inspired Leaders International, and you are provincial president of the Fathers Union. Today we are talking about the distinct man and his suitable helper. The distinct man and his suitable helper. And as you can see, we are already in high gear, and today we are pushing the limits. We want to push the boundaries and have a real conversation. As you can see with me in studio is none other than Caroline Abalo Okello, the CEO of Precision Hub Consults. You are very welcome, Caroline.
Thank you very much, Sam.
How have you been?
I've been good. Yourself?
Been awesome.
Thank you.
Please, just look into that camera and greet our viewers and share a little bit more about yourself as we continue the conversation.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I welcome you once again to our program tonight. My name is Caroline Abalo Okello, just like Samuel has mentioned. I am the CEO of Precision Hub Consults. We are a program management and research consultancy firm that has the primary mandate of pushing boundaries and making sure people live life to its full potential from an evidence-based perspective.
Evidence-based perspective.
Exactly. Yeah, I am a mother of two. an marketplace evangelist, I call myself. One of my most pressing spaces that I feel I would call identity for home is making Christ famous in the marketplace.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Interesting. Making Christ famous in the marketplace. You're very welcome to this program today as we talk about the distinct man and his suitable helper. Now, you've been designing a very important program. And as you shared with me about the program, you said you're looking at how you can help the man, equip the man to be distinct, but also equip the woman to fix her crown. This kind of a program, what are some of the major pillars on which it is built? Some of the key issues that it is addressing?
Okay. So the Distinct Man and the Fixing Her Crown program is a broad spectrum of what, on the broad scheme of events, the program is called the Labor Force Empowerment Program.
Labor Force Empowerment Program.
So the Labor Force Empowerment Program looks at the you and I that is in the marketplace, the you and I that is responding to the needs of community every day. But then the big question is, who is taking care of our needs as we take care of the needs of everyone else? So this program looks at positioning the man and the woman in the place of leadership.
Yes.
Positioning them in the place of economic empowerment, have a resilience to stand out and finance their spaces, but also to stand from a place where they are not broken, so taking care of their mental health needs. So broadly, in the program, we're looking out to making sure the space provides an opportunity for a man to finance their space. If you would summarize it, it's picking the man and the woman, taking them to operate from the Eden that they were supposed to thrive
Pick
from.
the man, pick the woman, bring them together, take them to Eden, the environment in which they were supposed to live.
Exactly.
It's quite an interesting metaphor in there.
Thank you.
So leadership, economic empowerment, and mental health, this is what you're focusing on.
Yes.
Okay. So getting to the distinct man. In your view, what does it mean for a man to be distinct?
For a man to be distinct is a man to be sure about their space. Sure about their space in the sense that they are confident enough to have a voice that they make, and it's a voice of authority. And this is coming from a contextual analysis that is drawn from a prefix that in the environment where the man and the woman try to coexist. And I use the word coexist conservatively because when you talk to the people within the marketplace, within the labor industry, the narrative is that men and women are coexisting. But are we coexisting? This is what I think. And I'm happy for you to challenge my viewpoint on this. I feel what we call coexistence is just a sugar-coated environment, because if we say we're not able to coexist, then it could take bread away from my table. Then I have to give the mirror that we are actually coexisting.
Also giving a facade of coexistence when actually there isn't coexistence. There is intolerance, if I can call it that.
Yeah, so for this distinct man to understand that in my space, there will always be an Eve in the Garden of Eden. And while I am operating where Eve is, I have authority.
I thought we wanted to say, and where I am, when I'm operating where Eve is, the serpent is nearby.
I wish I could say it that way, but yeah, who knows, the conversation could take that direction. Yes, so for you to understand that when I'm in the Garden of Eden, I am a leader. For the man to understand, for me to be distinct, my voice of leadership has to sound well enough for the woman in my space to feel that I am valued. Because when we are having these conversations, let's think about the narrative for the Women's Day theme for the year.
Accelerating action.
Accelerating action to what direction?
And which action specifically?
Exactly. That's a broad question that we can fill in the gaps anytime.
Yes.
So the narrative then should be is, does man realize their position as priest before anything else? Is man able to understand that my position as protector is clear? Do they even understand their voice as prophets in that place? Now, while all this conversation is happening, that when we choose to disagree within the labor force,
Yes.
we disagree in love.
Okay. That sounds like a verse somewhere, Ephesians 4:15, that
Yeah, so
talks
as-
about speaking truth to one another
with
in
love.
love.
Yes. So while all this is happening in my space, the woman should be secure enough that as I'm rising in the epitome of leadership, that I understand my place of submission.
That's another word that many ladies don't like.
Well, it's...
You could have made just a few enemies right now.
Oh, really?
Among our
I'm sure
viewers.
they're going to be my friends by the end of the show. And why am I having this conversation about submission even at the workplace?
Yeah.
It's a scriptural space. I mean, if only Eve had understood submission, maybe we would have stayed in the Garden of Eden and never departed. It's the metaphor I remain with on my mind, that if she only had stayed in that place, but also for the distinct man to understand that I have a voice. Eve would not have overtoned in the garden if Adam made sound. Because clearly they were in the garden.
Yeah.
By the time the serpent walks in, Adam was in the garden, but quiet.
That's true. That's true.
So every time the man goes quiet, another voice will be amplified.
That is a quotable quote. Every time a man keeps quiet, another voice will be amplified.
Exactly.
By Karo Okello of Uganda.
So for me, it comes back to a place that what causes a man to feel voiceless?
To be silent or silenced.
Is this man coming from a place of woundedness? Do we even know what caused these wounds? Have they spoken about these wounds? Did someone care to listen that they were wounded? And on whatever life's journey where this woundedness starts from, what we know is the fact that they are quiet, they are dealing with a wound.
Yeah.
So because a prophet has no voice, when Jezebel shouts, they
The prophet
run.
runs away to hide in a cave. Prophet
So how
Elijah,
many prophets have run from assignment?
because of a certain Jezebel character somewhere.
Exactly.
This is indeed distinct. This distinct man, one who is sure about his space, distinct man is one who has a voice of authority, who understands his leadership responsibility, one who is confident enough, one who understands his space as a priest, as a protector, as a prophet, aware that every time the voice of a man goes silent, another voice is amplified. That's what you are looking at as a distinct man.
Oh, yes.
Interesting. Now, on the other hand, what does it mean for a woman to fix her crown, like you said at the beginning?
So a woman with a crown is what I would want to call the virtuous woman.
Virtuous woman.
This woman is many things that we call ourselves, and every time ladies are celebrating self, we call ourselves the virtuous women.
Yeah. A woman of noble character.
Exactly. Now, when you redefine that woman, then the reflective questions should come. Am I the woman that sees a field and buys it?
Am I a woman that sees a field and buys it?
Am I the woman that is devoted to the Lord? Am I that woman that can take care of my household needs
Yes.
by rising up early in the morning, and I'm not throwing stones at the man in my space that probably doesn't have the opportunity at that time?
Yes.
Or that's when I amplify how much they are bringing to the table. Like it's commonly said these days, what are you bringing to the table?
And sometimes they ask what somebody is bringing to the table when even the table is not there. There is even no table at all. But we are asking what one is bringing to the table.
Oh, yes.
Let's first secure a table.
You know? So when you think about all these things, for us to come back, so for fixing her crown, we have inbuilt, on this program, we have designed a hybrid of the women that were an influence in the Bible. In this woman, we want to see a favored Esther.
A favored Esther.
But you see, the conversation that comes to the table is what makes Esther favored is that Vashti got disfavored. Now, before we talk about Esther being favored, consistently, when we believers pray a prayer like, I pray the favor that was upon Esther in my life,
Yeah.
you're praying because you don't have it.
That's why you're asking for it.
Exactly. So
If you had it, you wouldn't pray for
exactly,
it.
you wouldn't be praying for it. So the fact that you're praying for it, you've identified that what I carry is the Vashti spirit.
You're shaking tables.
I know I am. Because these are personal questions I've also asked myself.
Yeah.
Because this is a prayer I've also prayed. So before I actually pray for favor, it means I need to take care of the Vashti spirit to first of all get out.
For the favor of Esther to come upon me.
Exactly. So you have to look at the things like Vashti failed in the place of submission.
Yeah.
So before I ask
To
for
her
favor,
husband, the king.
so I have to understand that I'm called to a place of submission. So if I'm asking for favor at the workplace, have I understood submission of the workplace? If I'm asking to be recognized in society, have I appreciated that that society should receive me? Do I have what it takes for this society to receive me?
Am I relevant in spaces where I would like to get recognition?
Exactly.
Am I taking value to places where I want to be promoted? Am I adding value to platforms where I want to be elevated from?
That's the woman with the crown.
That's the woman with the crown.
Now, aware of the fact that on the journey, our crowns get lost along the way.
Yeah.
And sometimes we are not even aware that we lost the crown. On life's journey, every time new babies are born, we call them princesses and all this.
Yes.
When does the princess narrative end on this journey? The brokenness for some of us ladies starts as far as childhood. Now we want to walk a journey with this lady to identify her crown. At what point did we lose the crown? Because for me it comes back that when I like to borrow the scriptural prefix that when Adam saw Eve,
Yeah.
he said, bone of my own bone.
Flesh of my own flesh.
Now, implying that when Adam saw Eve, he saw a complete human.
Yes.
He didn't see his half, he saw a complementary.
Yet we hear most of us saying my
The
better
better
half,
half.
better half, and
Yeah, so those are the
you will have
challenging
human
moments.
being yourself. You need somebody to complete
Yeah,
you. This
so-
was not completion; it was complementarity. It is-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, every time we walk into relationships and we don't feel complete, we break others on the journey.
Because hurting people hurt people. People who are hurting, they end up hurting others.
Exactly. Now, while we see that in families, we also see that in the workplaces. I come a broken person into the workplace. I meet a broken leader.
Yeah.
We continue to break the systems.
And break the institution, and break hearts.
And that
And
becomes
break
the new
destinies.
brand.
Yes.
So when we are having all this conversation about fixing crowns and identifying the distinct man, we want to bring two human beings that are complete. That when they meet this vision called life that they are having a journey on, even when Sam is absent from the workplace, work does not stall because he came in a complete version. He didn't take out anything. The completion of the space continues to coexist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you. And now, as you talk of bringing the two people together, it reminds me of the fact that a man who is now a distinct man, real distinct man, is actually a great support system in helping the other woman to fix her crown, in my view.
Oh, yes.
If I am getting you well.
Oh, yes.
The distinct man can be a strong support system in helping the woman around him or in his life to fix her crown.
Oh, yes.
If we come from that angle, looking at the journey that you have taken yourself, your own trajectory, who are some of the men you could speak about that have been quite instrumental in fixing your own crown?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting one. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, so a number of men have played a role in making sure my crown is firm. I've been raised as a daddy's girl.
Daddy's girl.
My father has been such a support system.
By the way, just to digress a little bit, it seems somebody becoming daddy's girl is okay, but someone becoming mommy's boy is not okay. But let's continue with what you were sharing.
Oh yes. So I've had such an amazing dad growing up. My dad walked me to school. I remember a story that I like to tell my team, that even when at school when I failed, my dad is a teacher. He's a retired teacher now. I remember a story I'll never forget. In my primary 5, they were filling in these abbreviations. And then there was this abbreviation of GPO.
GPO.
Which is the General Post Office.
Yes.
I didn't know the answer. Because GPO was a short form my dad used for his name.
Okay.
So it was so common. So in the exam, I wrote my dad's name, Ginyakol Patrick Okello.
I think you were even excited that they have brought your dad's
about my dad
in an exam.
So the results come back and they had marked it wrong.
And you wondered.
I was disturbed. I went to my dad. I said, the teacher marked my answer wrong.
Yet
I think
correct.
they don't know your name.
Oh, wow.
So because he's a teacher, he picked a red pen and marked it as correct. Then he wrote General Post Office underneath, and he said, you see, your dad is GPO.
Yes.
But the rest of the world does not know GPO.
Not know GPO.
So can we repeat after me? So I
General
repeated after
Post
him.
Office.
Now, the way he nurtured me to the place of helping me understand the right from what was my right is a thing I would never forget, because I still speak about it to today. And every time I've seen my children struggle with a thing, I remember that my dad journeyed with me.
Journeyed with you, did not throw you to where you needed to be. He walked there with you.
My academic trajectory, my dad took the choices with me. When in my career path, before I made a decision to transition from my job, I would have to inform him. And I've seen myself in the leadership spaces. At some point, I was rubbing on as quite a strong character. And I went to see my dad, and I was sharing with him issues I had at the workplace. So when we shared on phone, then he was working in Mbale, and he said, do you mind driving to Mbale and we talk?
Wow.
So I drive to Mbale, and in this conversation, he wanted to understand my whole story about work.
Yes.
So I share with him. And then the counsel he gave me and said, you see, when you're on this journey, sometimes your energy might just rub off on other people differently, and they may just not understand you.
Yeah.
So maybe if you took it from this other intonation, it will be different. Now, hearing it from the man that I love that much,
and trust.
Like, oh, this is what I have been hearing, but I wasn't hearing it until he is saying it.
What was the difference? What made the difference? Could it be because of the relationship you had with this man versus the relationship you did not have with this other one?
Exactly. So the trust, it was coming from a place of, I trust that whatever he's saying, he means well for me.
He's a voice of authority in my life. This one, I trust him.
Yeah, then
I pity those other men that you did trust.
Then on the life journey, I've met amazing men on my career path. I've been supervised by over 10 men on my career journey, and only supervised by one lady. So I have this experience of knowing that men saw me to the next level. Men have vouched for me to the next level. I could mention a few names. On my life journey, I've had the current country director of World Vision Uganda, Jeremiah Nyaga. I met this gentleman at a trying time of my career path, and I remember him as a new leader sitting me down and encouraging that even when things don't work out, you have what it takes, so don't lose hope. Men like Patrick Pade Mugarura was my
Yes.
immediate boss, one of the first bosses that trusted me with the management role when I had
Oh,
no
wow.
management experience.
Interesting.
I've interacted with men like John Teriraho.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
Oh, yes.
He's a provincial head of laity for the Church of Uganda.
Now, that one has such a further authority that
He
even
does.
when you're going off tangent, he will call you and say, Kara, in my office.
Yeah.
So when you walk in the office, we used to call him Papa.
Yes.
So
yes.
I would walk into his office and
Which
I'd
means
know-
father, an
Exactly.
endearing, title for a father.
Oh, yes. So you walk in and sometimes you'd find a line of other staff waiting to just talk to him, and he would tell you, do you mind waiting for me? I still need to see you. Now, he is the kind of leader that would not hear things about you in the corridors and
Yes.
not come to put you right. Now, we all look out for someone to put us right. And I think I experienced that a lot from the men that led me. They corrected me. Sometimes they would tell me things like, Kara, your energy is good, but men can contain it. But your female counterparts may not be able to contain it. So
Yeah,
could
yeah.
you tone it down to the
Especially
space?
when handling your female counterparts.
Exactly.
Yes.
So one leader that I'll never forget, who managed my communication skills, was my boss when I worked with him in World Vision. He's called Pade. I used to be very responsive on emails. If I saw something, I needed it to be done there and then. So he would call me to his office and he would say, after you're done writing that email, come to my office and we read through it.
Yes.
So I'd walk into his
Before
office
you send it,
before I
you
send
click
it.
send.
So when I would bring the email, then he would tell me, now read it to me aloud. So I would read this email and he'd be like, now I want you to go on the other side of the recipient. Now
Let me read it to
you
you.
read it to yourself, but from the other side. Would you want to receive that email? So he did
Wow.
that for about 6 times. And then I noticed, oh, this man is actually saying you can write without being too strong about it, and
Yet
the
things
message
happen.
will still get in there. And today when
Wow.
people meet me, they say, Kara is full of charisma, Kara is a good communicator. And
Yes.
sometimes I go to his inbox and I be like, if people could only meet the other version
The
you
one
met,
you know. The one you
they
met.
would celebrate you more than they celebrate me. So yeah, I've
Yes.
met amazing men on my journey.
Amazing.
I've been in a family where my brother has been such a support system. So I can't complain really. Men have contributed a big deal to the crown that I carry
Interesting.
today.
Yet when you move around, you hear a lot of information about men are bad, men are beasts, men are dogs, all men are the same. I asked one lady, she said, all men are the same. Don't bully that, don't tell me, all men are the same. And then I said, why did you have to test all of them?
Oh wow.
And if you haven't, how did you know that all of them are just the same? I mean, I had to be that graphic in order to let her think appropriately.
yes.
So when I hear your story, it's quite amazing, and I want to believe there are many other women that could share the same story. But I think people who share something like this are usually not given platforms to share this kind of information.
Oh yeah.
Probably because it doesn't augur well with some funders. Probably it doesn't bring the money that we need from some sponsors. But this other narrative of men are bad, they are always the ones on the who are perpetuating evil, they are the wicked species. Somebody even said that they are a biological accident.
Oh wow.
Oh yes, oh yes. When that is spoken, it seems it attracts financing, funding, sponsorship. So I am glad to hear what you're saying. And that leads me to asking, men like those that you've talked about, the distinct men, in your view, how should we treat them whenever we are blessed to come across them in our lives?
I think I call myself a constant student of honor. One of the things I personally do, I acknowledge what they have done in my life.
Acknowledge their work.
Yeah, I acknowledge their work in the spaces that I've been to. On special events like when the holidays are coming, I'll send a gift package to their families.
Wow.
And appreciate from that space. In spaces where the space avails for I would want them to speak in my children's life as well, because my children have a right to know who
Yes.
my mommy's friends are.
Okay.
And even when I make transitions, I try to keep in touch so that you don't rabble. So I've reached out to some of them, and I still ask them to stay mentors in my space.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Acknowledge their contribution in your life. Whenever possible, extend a gift.
Oh, yes.
Once in a while, provide platforms for them to share their story, to mention but a few.
Oh, yes.
And I think if we could do things like those, we would have a bigger tribe of men who are feeling more appreciated for the little or the big they do, and that would trigger maybe a new wave of men who want to do more, because they feel like when they do more and more, someone appreciates that they are putting in an effort.
Yes.
Now, we want to flip it to the other side. In your own view, especially from your own experience, this time as somebody's suitable helper, how can a woman also support her man to be distinct? Because what you've just shared is whereby the distinct man was helping the woman to put on her crown, to fix her crown. So how about on the side of the women? How can a woman be of a strong support to a man who wants to be a distinct man?
Oh, yes. So I think for me, one of the things that are very paramount is men never want to be compared. Why?
That's where you're beginning
Oh,
from.
yes. Men don't want to be compared.
That is 152% true.
So for me to understand my place, that I am the complementary of this person. We complement each other and understand our space as assignment.
Yeah.
Now, there is the reason why I am the one on the assignment with them. So because I come in to complement, I cannot be the one finding the gap. I come to complement.
In other words, let's now even simplify it further. To complement is to add, to fill the space.
Exactly.
So then I can't be the one amplifying the space.
Exactly.
I am supposed to be
Yeah. Now,
filling.
we also need to come from a place where we operate from a place of forgiveness. Keep no record of wrong. It is said, the conversation on the street is always that women will hold you back to the place of your last wrong.
Women will hold you back to the place of your last wrong.
Exactly.
Quite philosophical.
So when we look back into that place, is when we are in a place of grievance, can this grievance not come between the assignments we carry?
That takes maturity.
Oh, yes. And you have to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
Now, because you're called in the place of helper, if I understand my place as helper, I understand that I'm called to a place of submitting to this person. And because my place is submission, even if I seem wiser than thou, understand that my tone can only be to a certain degree, and allow what they are saying make sense. Now the challenge comes when I try to compare you to another. There are certain signals I'm sending to the mind that the fact that I'm comparing you to another, you probably think they are better than me.
Oh yes, and maybe I am right to think like that, because when you say, why don't you be like James, it seems now you are attracted to James. He's doing better things in your view. It was a mistake for me to marry you. You know, definitely I have to feel that the other person is better.
So
because you are giving him to me as a yardstick, a canon, a pattern, a model, an example, the prototype of manhood.
So come to think about it, when we are coming in the place of supporting the men to be distinct, if my voice seems louder, my prophet in my house will have their voice silenced. So then I miss God's declaration over my household
Through the
because I
prophet in the house.
silenced the prophet.
Ooh.
Now they are my priest. I am called to the place of receiving from the prophet, who is the priest of my house.
Your man.
So because I have received, I have honored them. So then I partake of the prophet's reward. But because I am making noise,
Your choice of words is
Oh, yes.
insightful.
So because I'm making noise, the prophet goes quiet.
Yes.
Because the spirit of the prophet is the spirit of Elijah, which is the spirit of Christ. So that spirit can only manage a certain intonation. So if I want to harvest from that well,
Yeah.
I need to intentionally redig the wells of love,
Yeah.
because love is able to overcome all these challenges.
Maybe that's why the Bible says it covers a multitude of sins.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand that place, that I'm called to the understanding that this is my prophet, before they make the world beautiful outside of our home, can it start from our place? Our first home, our home should be the church.
Yeah.
And then we take the church outside. So yeah, for me, it comes from that place.
Wow. Don't compare him with other men. Find a place to keep a record of no wrong and forgive, and understand the role of the helper, what it means, what it implies, and how it should therefore make one live.
Yeah. But also, maybe before we leave that place, is to understand my place as a woman, as an intercessor. Because I liken the role of a woman to the role of the Holy Spirit as helper.
And actually, from the Greek language, the word helper, which is the word Ezer, E-Z-E-R, is used in the Bible for the woman as a helper, suitable helper. Genesis 2, helper, Ezer.
Yeah.
The same word is used for the Holy Spirit when he was guiding the Israelites going to the promised land. The same word used for the Holy Spirit as a helper of Israel was the same word used for the woman as a helper of a man.
Yeah, so if I understand my place of travail for my family, then my partner is able to shine like the woman, we talk about the virtuous woman, who stands in their place as a woman of noble character, the one that loves on the Lord, and the streets are proud of her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people have an issue with that. They should be proud of her, not of her husband.
Oh, when he shines, you shine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Now, when you look at this, there is an unfortunate reality on the table. And the unfortunate reality is what you told me a few days ago when we had a conversation, when you said that many women, instead of playing this role of support system, they even go out there and abuse the whistleblower systems in organizations and institutions in the workplace. Kindly share with us, how do they do that?
Well, it comes back to the conversation we started this with, the gender equality bandwagon.
The gender equality bandwagon.
So because Agency X is pronouncing their space as a gender inclusive space, they're a women empowerment space,
Yes.
they're having all the resources, because the funding basket has since drawn to that direction.
Yeah.
So everyone then steps out and says, oh, we are increasing the percentage of female leaders by 60%, 70%.
It's like a mark of honor
Exactly. So
to have fewer men.
So it's a prefix that is, I call it a badge. It's basically a gender badge for you to then sit on tables and shake tables with the who is who in the funding space. Now, because we understand that narrative, someone is having conversations, how many women do you have in leadership?
Yes.
So that organization is shining. And I'm not
Wow.
saying this because I'm saying raising women in leadership is a bad thing.
Of
It's an
course,
amazing
nobody's
thing.
saying that.
But we then have to come back to the narrative that while we are being raised in these leadership spaces, we need to be prepared to understand what happens on those tables. And until we prepare people to note and feel like because they are female, they have more privileges than their male counterparts.
Yeah.
Some of these conversations won't happen. In a space that I won't mention, where I once worked, I've been in a number of places, but a very awkward situation happened. A lady had gone through a performance issue.
Performance issue? What do you mean performance issue?
They hadn't performed to the expectations
hadn't
of the institution.
performed
So
well.
by reality, they were mandated to go into a performance improvement plan.
Okay.
Now
Which is another way of telling them you are not doing well.
Exactly.
So now we want to put you on a plan that will help you to start to improve your performance.
Exactly.
Just for the sake of our viewers to understand this language of PIP and
So in a very awkward situation, they're having a conversation with their manager. And
so she's in an office with the manager, they are talking about their performance.
And this manager is male. So
the manager was a man.
Yeah.
This other person who was not performing well was the
female.
lady, and now the manager is talking with this stuff about the performance.
Oh yes. Now, if luck wasn't on the side of the manager, this lady also sat on a women empowerment committee
Within the same organization.
So when the performance conversation comes down, everyone knows the person is very vocal. So being vocal is sometimes mistaken to performance in some spaces. So they're being told you are not performing and we think you need to go on a performance improvement plan. I will put this to senior management and we see how we go about it.
Yeah.
The lady erupts in the office and says, I feel I'm being harassed.
Oh, so now instead of welcoming the feedback about her poor performance, she turns it around and says she's being harassed by the manager.
Exactly. Said, I will take this to the next level. And by next level, she didn't even blink an eye. Before we knew it, a few days later, it was in a whistleblower system. So investigations, because when a woman reports issues of harassment, all guns are turned down. Who has been harassing them? And mostly if it's a woman in leadership, everyone comes down on you. And I'm not saying that there are women who are actually not genuinely harassed in the spaces, but this case was unique. Now you're seeing a man, and she actually threatened and said, this alone will affect you from getting to the epitome of leadership.
Whoa.
So you're getting a very vocal woman who actually understands that their voice has an implication.
Yes.
So she shared with some of us who were in her spaces and indicated, this man, someone needs to handle him. And for me, I've had it my way. I think they'll come down on him. So we're having.
So she's telling you that actually nothing wrong happened. It was a performance challenge, but she's going to turn it around and use it against the manager.
Yeah. So we're a number of ladies that say, what you've done is wrong. You know that while it's about you and this man, you're costing someone bread on their table, and they have children to feed after. She's like, I don't care. He didn't think about me when he was thinking of putting on performance improvement. And then two of us on the meeting table said, if it comes down on the man, we are actually going to protect him. It's like, no, it will be your word against mine. Let's see what the policy says. And we thought it was a joke. Guns came down on this senior management team member, and he was sent on 2 weeks leave for investigation to happen, and then they're having all these conversations with different people. And then one of my colleagues that were with in that small meeting was like, are you going to speak? Do you feel we should speak about it?
Or we should also keep quiet?
Are we safe
if we speak
if we speak about this? I'm like, I don't think I lose anything from this. I'll find another job. This makes this place not safe enough. If we can actually get to this level, we are going to abuse systems.
Yeah, and all of us are not safe in the long term.
And lo and behold, something beautiful came out of it. People were able to voice out. And this lady had spoken to, I think, quite a number of people. So it had started
about
making
what
rounds.
she was going to do.
About what she was going to do. And people had a history that they had been building performance conversations. Also came out. So the long and short of it is people actually abuse the systems. So the people that manage actually these systems need to dig to that depth, that before we jump into investigations, can we actually establish the realities before we jump into investigation mode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. When you come to think about it now, with hindsight, you start to look at the trail of a number of men who have really been victimized
Oh, yeah.
in these spaces by their female counterparts. Many of them are in prison even today, and it will take the hand of God to rescue them.
Oh, yes.
Then
And you hear stories in the workforce where men would say, this is a woman's space, this organization is about women, so I'm here to protect my job.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
okay. So they simply just do.
Yeah, you would watch, do your job,
Yeah.
don't
Whatever
cross the
happens,
women.
don't cross
yeah,
the-
don't cross. Yeah.
And that is now gender equality.
Yeah, so
That's
we call
now
it
empowerment.
That's empowerment.
That is workplace safety. That is psychological safety.
Oh, yes.
Wow. We just have about 8 minutes to end this conversation. And at this moment, I would like you to look at what you've just talked about, the abuse of the whistleblower system.
Yeah.
Could this be the reason why you said that the women empowerment movement in some spaces has actually broken family systems and overshadowed the identity of a man in God's eyes? I remember you sharing that.
Yeah. So you see, it's many things. Years back, I remember working on a project in rural Uganda. It was a gender GBV response project as well. And on this project, I haven't seen a similar project design. So I would call it a malfunction of a design.
A malfunction
Of
of
a
a design.
yeah. In this program, women that had experienced violence in the household
Yes.
would be rescued and kept in what they called a safe home.
So they have experienced some
So
violence in
violence,
their
yes.
own homes. So in a way of helping them,
They'll keep them
they
in a
get
safe
them
home.
out of their home,
Yes.
and then they are kept in a place called a safe home,
Okay, exactly.
away from their family.
Away from their families. Now, if you go into the northern Uganda space, polygamy is quite common.
It is.
So then they started seeing more women that had actually been into the safe homes return home and find the man brought another woman. And he'll tell you, so go back where you had gone. So what was supposed to be a protection program was actually now tearing families. So when a midterm evaluation of that project was done, reflections had to be done on design. Did we design for the right cause? Is it in sync with the cultural systems? You get.
That's what
So-
we call the principle of unintended consequences.
Exactly. Yes, I
You know,
like that principle.
Oh yes, yeah, the principle of unintended consequences. It happened in the U.S. many years ago, a few decades ago, when President Nixon was the president of the U.S. He came up with this big project of the Great Society, something
Yeah.
like that. And part of what it was about was the government was supposed to be giving some money, some funding to single mothers across America to help them, look after their children and so on and so forth. Quite wonderful intention, good program on the surface. But guess what? By the time his leadership came to an end, his tenure as a
Yeah.
president, the problem had multiplied many times. You know why? Because those who had husbands, they divorced because the government is going to give those without husbands money. By the time he was done, there were many other young girls who rushed to be impregnated in order to get government money. So that's what we call the principle of unintended consequences. And I shared about this a few weeks ago at Parliament of Uganda when I was meeting the Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee together with a team of other wonderful friends. And we talked about this. We said, this marriage bill 2024, you may say you have good intentions, but a wise legislator should go beyond intentions and also critically and strategically look at the possible consequences, because you may end up having unintended consequences that are very negative, even when you had good intentions from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
So I hear you when you talk about all this kind of movement and what it is causing.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up this way. Going forward, in your view, how should we position what I can call the male energy in the workforce and beyond for the benefit of both men and women?
Yeah, so male energy, how do we position? One, men need to be confident enough that they can't do this work alone.
Yeah.
And also women to understand that I'm in this place to complement the assignment. I'm not here to compete. We are here to deliver on a result, and that's why we are hired together. Now, because we are providing a complementary, we have a vision, and that vision is the institution we are serving.
Yes.
So we can't be tearing the male versus the female, or the female over the male, for whatsoever selfish reasons we may have.
Yeah.
So I like to put the philosophy to the teams that I lead, that leave your brokenness outside of the gate before you walk into the workplace. And
But how is that possible, Carol?
Oh, yes,
because I
you
bring who I am to
can.
the workplace. If I am broken,
So
I'm
you
going to come
see,
as a piece of
You know,
brokenness
the
to
interesting
the workplace.
bit, Sam, is
Yes.
that you can't leave your broken pieces on the outside of the gate, because when you were interviewed for that job, the reason why they hired you, you were enough for their vision. So stick to the vision of the institution, deliver the result. Let's all celebrate and be good. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Parting shots. We've talked about the distinct man and his suitable helper.
Yeah.
What would be your parting shots? What would be your final words as we wrap this up in just less than a minute?
Yeah, for me, the distinct man is the man out there standing in your position of authority. You are in that office because God trusted you with that office. There is a reason why Christ went back on the cross, to redeem us back to the place of authority. So what happened in Eden before the second Adam, don't walk us back to the story of the first Adam.
We are not going back to Egypt.
Ex-
We are going to the promised land.
Oh, yes. So be confident in self, but at the center of it all, ask yourself, this that I do, what would Christ say if he was evaluating me?
Wow.
That, then we'll have the distinct man in position.
What would Christ say if he was evaluating me?
Yeah.
I am not shocked that you're using the word evaluate, because professionally your background is in monitoring and evaluation.
Oh, yes.
You have a bachelor's in, was that about something to do with population?
Yes.
Demographics?
Yes, I did demography, then
Okay. And then a master's in monitoring and evaluation, and then another master's in
population and reproductive
population
health.
reproductive health, and then a postgraduate diploma in monitoring and evaluation, right?
Yes.
Interesting. So when you talk about being evaluated, I am not shocked.
Oh, yes.
What would Christ say if he evaluated me? And I think that's a very powerful statement as we end this program. I would like to reiterate the words of Dr. Warren Farrell, a former male feminist, who said in one of his books recently that when one sex wins, both sexes lose. When one sex wins, both sexes lose. When only men are winning, both men and women are losing. When only women are winning, both men and women are losing. And I think for me, what I've heard throughout this whole conversation with Caroline is the aspect of complementarity, not competition. We don't have to pit, one against the other. This world is so huge. We can all live in it happily.
Oh, yes.
And just because this man is succeeding doesn't mean the woman is losing. Just because this woman is succeeding doesn't mean the man is losing. Both of us can succeed together, and we make our world a happier place. Remember what Carol said, that every time a man goes silent, another voice gets amplified, and most often it is a negative voice. Let's go and work together, love one another, and serve together, because that's what we are created to do. Until next time, live exemplarily, love authentically, and lead relationally.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV.